Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 Mods Weekly. Another episode of the show where we take a look at some of the really cool and interesting mods that have come out during the week, and we do have a good variety this week. A lot of different types of mods, and they are all very unique. To get us started, let's check out the Livewire mod by Shiagur. And this is going to add a brand new melee weapon, or actually a couple of melee weapons, into Fallout 4. Now, this is their first mod, and it is absolutely excellent. The custom models and textures look incredible. There is a quest integrated to this mod to obtain the new weapons and even a new location. So the amount of effort put into this mod is absolutely excellent and was executed very well. Now, at its core, this is going to add two new katanas into the game, a one-handed and two-handed variant, but both of which can be upgraded to have some really cool electrical modifications, and if you complete the included quest, you will get a brand new modification that makes them very powerful. Essentially, this weapon becomes an electrical version of the shish kebab, and I think it fits very well into the wasteland. It's a very lore-friendly weapon, and honestly, it is just beautiful. Now, in order to get your hands on this thing, the weapons are actually added to the leveled list, but only in the legendary spawns. So if you want to get it, you're probably going to have to do the quest. If you do decide to start up the quest, it will take you all over the Commonwealth, finding different parts to craft these new weapons. Through the questline, you will find a one-handed version of the katana, as well as a two-handed version later on in the quest, as well as all of the parts that you will need to craft the new blueprint, which is the Livewire modification. Once you pick up either of the katanas, you can modify them pretty heavily, but you won't get that final modification until you complete the quest, which is pretty interesting. During the quest, you will be sent to all kinds of locations, picking up different parts, and you'll encounter some pretty interesting stuff like ninja ghouls inside of the Hubris comics. I won't spoil it too much, but it is a fun little quest line with a lot of exploring. Overall, this is a very fun mod and an interesting way to add a new, unique melee weapon. Having a quest like this does make the weapon feel truly unique, something that I feel like the Fallout 4 legendary variants were really lacking, so I appreciate that a whole lot. Moving on, for our next mod, we have... Alright, and for our next mod, we have Onehanded Rifles Targeted Animations by Targetedfox. Now, this is a pretty interesting one. It's going to add one-handed animations to various rifles in the Fallout modding scene. Now, at its core, with the basic version of this mod, it's only going to reanimate the Nuka World AK. But there are a ton of optional files for different mods that you can apply this to, and it's pretty interesting and pretty clever. Now, in terms of the Nuka World AK, this mod is going to utilize animations from Hitman's right-handed AK mod for the reload, as well as War Daddy's STG-60 for the actual holding of the weapon with one hand. It's going to combine both of them to make a pretty unique animation set. As for all of the weapons added by mods, they will utilize their own reload animations, but they will still use the holding style of the STG-60. So it is going to be a requirement for you to download that animation mod, but once you have it, everything works flawlessly. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool. One of my favorite mods in the optional files of this was definitely the MP5. I think the one-handed animations definitely work very well with lighter weapons like that, and I think it's a lot of fun to hipfire it. When using some of these modded weapons and you ADS, it will go back to two-handed, and honestly, I think that's fine. You have it in one hand when you're using hipfire, and it's a bit more inaccurate, but when you need a little bit more accuracy and aim down sights, you use the two-handed animations, and I think that works really well. This is a pretty cool animation mod, and it's definitely one that I'd recommend checking out if you want some more variety in the way that you hold these weapons. Pretty cool stuff. Up next, we have the JU Helmets Redux by NexusBram. Now, this is going to take a bunch of helmets initially created by Jason Unruh on the Nexus, and it's going to make a lot of tweaks to them and add them to the leveled list. This is going to have 8 helmets in total, and they're all super cool. I think these fit very well on raiders. As soon as I booted up my game and did some combat tests, I immediately saw these things spawning on different raiders, and they look excellent. All of these are super cool and very lore friendly. Most of these are using vanilla assets that have been tweaked or retextured in some way or another, but there are a couple of custom assets in here as well, and altogether these make for some really cool raider helmets. Some of these are stylized after real world things, like there are some Spartan helmets and samurai helmets, but they have been redone in a raider style using scrap metal and welds to make a really cool, unique helmet. Think Caesar's Legion in Fallout New Vegas for the types of armors you'll be getting in this pack. Really cool stuff. There's not a whole lot to say about it, but I do enjoy this mod a whole lot. Up next, we have a pretty interesting new weapon mod, and that's going to be the DC17 Blaster pistol by DMagnus. This is going to add a brand new blaster to the game from Star Wars, one that you may recognize from the Clone Wars series. It is a very, very small blaster pistol, and it's honestly a really good mod. Usually when you see ported over weapons specifically from Star Wars, they're pretty janky when it comes to animations. There isn't a whole lot of modification, and they're pretty flat on the surface, but this weapon is something different. Despite being from Star Wars, it actually fits into the game very, very well. It has a handful of modifications over at the weapons workbench, including some different aesthetic changes as well as some different functionalities. And this thing honestly looks like something that could potentially be used by the Institute or maybe even the Brotherhood of Steel. I know it is directly from Star Wars, but if you didn't know that, you could mistake this thing as being a pretty lore-friendly weapon, weirdly enough. If you want to get your hands on this blaster, it's actually added to the Electrical Hobbyists Club, but once you've picked it up, you can craft more copies of it over at the Chemistry Station. Additionally, like I said, this does have a couple of different functionalities. Not only does it work as a regular old energy weapon, but you can also set this thing to stun, a known trope in the Star Wars franchise, and it actually works. It has its own custom sounds and effects. It even has its own custom projectiles, and when you stun an enemy, they drop to the floor and are paralyzed, and even have a really cool blue glow effect to them. Additionally, this weapon has a whole bunch of custom sounds that really help to sell the weapon and make it feel individual from other energy weapons in the game. I'll go ahead and play those now so you can hear them. There are different sounds for many of the different attachments in this mod, so there's a whole lot of variety here. So yeah, that's the DC17, a really cool Star Wars blaster and one that I like a lot, and that's pretty cool to see a mod for it in Fallout 4. It may not be the most lore friendly, but it is a whole lot of fun and definitely worth checking out if you're looking for some new energy weapons. And finally, we have a brand new pistol mod that we covered a little bit earlier in the week, known as the Laogo Alien, a brand new modern tactical pistol to add to your load order. And quite frankly, even if you're not into tactical weapons, this one is really cool because it's a very unique pistol, not only in real life, but in this mod as well. It has some unique functionalities that make it very different from the standard modern pistols of today, including the fact that it has a very unique slide that doesn't take over the whole weapon. It is not a Browning style pistol at all. In fact, it has a top mount that stays static where you can mount your sights to, whereas the slide moves independently. Sort of like that of a Desert Eagle, but a bit different in the way that it is constructed. Additionally, it does have a lower barrel compared to other pistols, so it's going to have better recoil control in real life, and that is represented here in this mod as well. Overall, this is a very faithful recreation in Fallout 4, and I quite like this pistol a whole lot. It doesn't have a ton of customization in the way of cosmetics over at the weapons workbench. There are a handful of attachments, including different receivers and different muzzle devices, but when it comes to sights or skins, you don't get a whole lot there. But who knows, maybe one day we'll see an update that will add even more. Regardless, this is a really cool, unique pistol, and if it looks like something you'd enjoy, I definitely recommend checking it out. As a matter of fact, if you want to try any of these mods, they will all be linked down in the description below, along with Xbox links if there are any available. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating, consider subscribing for more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and a very special thank you to Helljumper2077, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie Noid, and YouthRC for signing up for that tier 3 Patreon membership. If Patreon sounds like the thing for you, it will be linked down in the description below, but again, it is completely optional. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace!